Local news, national news, even feel-good news. Delivering the topics that are relevant to you.
That's why I listen to Joe. He covers it all.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I could not wait to get on the radio today. We have so much to unpack, so much to talk about here tonight. We'll talk a little bit about Idalia, and then we're going to move on to some other matters, other stuff, including a new rap song from Donald Trump, sort of. So you'll hear that coming up in a few minutes. We'll also hear Governor Ron DeSantis and his warning for would-be looters. If you have listened to the show in the last couple of weeks, you know how I feel about looters. I feel like looters should be shot on sight, and for a very specific reason, because looters are part of the reason why some people don't evacuate. They don't leave because they're afraid of looters, and that just infuriates me that there are people who, frankly, there are homeowners who value their possessions more than they value their lives, which is sad to me, but it is true. It does happen, and it infuriates me that there are those who would prey on victims during a time like this. I'm just outraged. I'm incensed by the act of looting, and that some people could lose their lives because they're too afraid to leave their houses lest they be looted. So we'll get the warning from Governor DeSantis. He doesn't pull any punches. We'll have that for you coming up in a few minutes. We are very blessed here in the Orlando area that we didn't get a greater impact from Hurricane Idalia. We, thought all along that this was not going to be a big storm for us here. Direct impacts in Orlando. We certainly did have our fair share of rain. We got a lot of rain. Certainly it was very, very windy. If you did leave a garbage can out, or if you have some light patio furniture and you left that out, odds are pretty good it's down the street at some point today, and you had to go fetch that from wherever it was that it blew down to. This storm has set a number of records here in Florida, particularly up near the Big Bend region around the Panhandle. Even though this storm has now moved on to Georgia and is moving on to the Carolinas, it will be remembered for quite some time. Though I will say that the loss of life, at least at this point, the loss of life is either non-existent or negligible, not very significant. There are 2 people who died in 2 separate car crashes during the height of the landfall of Idalia. Now, one could certainly argue that those are not related to the hurricane. Typically, I can tell you that historically in situations like this, especially if someone is fleeing from the hurricane, they do count those as hurricane-related deaths. But as far as the state is concerned, the state has not released a death toll from Hurricane Idalia, which is fantastic if we don't have any official deaths. I mean, that means that preparations, and that means that people not only took preparations, but they followed the instructions from local and state leaders to get out of the way and to do the proper things before a hurricane hits so that we can mitigate loss of life and injuries. And we seem to have done that. So it is certainly a congratulations all around to everybody in the state of Florida for managing to not die during this hurricane when we have seen lesser storms that have killed more. So that is a good thing, and I'm glad that people are listening to their local and state leaders when it comes to evacuating and making the proper preparations. We did have, as the storm made landfall, the winds were 125 miles an hour. So it was the strongest hurricane to make landfall in Florida's Big Bend region in more than 125 years. So in modern history, it was the strongest hurricane to hit the Big Bend region. It was also the first major hurricane to track through Appalachia Bay, that according to the National Weather Service. The hurricane also broke several flood records. Water levels in Cedar Key on Wednesday were more than 6 feet higher than normal, breaking Hurricane Hermine's record from 2016. Tampa Bay's levels topped 4.5 feet, breaking Tropical Storm Etta's record. Clearwater Beach beat the 1993 record. The Steinahachie River rose 9 feet in 2 hours, shattering records in Steinahachie. And then, of course, we get credit for a low fatality rate in spite of it being such a major hurricane. And again, I say a low fatality rate. Two people are dead from car crashes. I do recall during, and I remember back to the hurricanes. I want to say honestly, I think this was Irma that came. One of the hurricanes went through the Keys, and I remember there was a vehicle that was fleeing the Keys and was towing a generator, and the vehicle ended up hitting a tree as they were fleeing, and they counted that as one of the hurricane deaths. So historically speaking, someone in a car crash fleeing a hurricane is going to count towards the total. Now, even though the hurricane has passed, we still have at this hour roughly 250,000 homes that are without power. And what we have seen in the past, and if history is a guide, there will be people who will die in the days ahead because of the improper use of generators, of consumer generators. Regrettably, I'm looking now at the power outages. There are 278,000 and change Floridians without power. Locally, even in Orange County, there's almost 400 without power. In Osceola County, there's 531 without power. And in Seminole County, there is 71 without power. Closer to the Tampa area in Pinellas County, there's 27 without power, 27,000, I should say, without power. And then you get up to the Big Bend area, and that's where we really have significant power outages, where there are tens of thousands of homes without power. Out of 11.2 million customers in the state of Florida, again, 278,000 remain without power at this hour. Invariably, though, if you're here in Orlando, if you're in the Central Florida area, if you're within the sound of my voice, and you're going to use if you don't have power and you're going to use a generator to light up your house, it is so vitally, vitally important that you do not bring that generator into your home. You do not bring that generator into your garage. And you keep that generator as far away from your house as possible. Make sure that the exhaust is venting away from your home. Make sure that there is not a roof of any type, a carport or anything over your generator. You want to make sure that that has complete and free, fair access to the atmosphere so that the hot exhaust fumes coming out of that can rise up and get out of your way. You do not want to be inhaling the exhaust from a generator. And invariably, we also oftentimes will have during hurricanes, even after the storm has passed, people will come into contact with power lines that still have electricity in them. So just be mindful. The storm is gone, but the thread is not. And if you're going to be using a generator particularly, I regret to tell you that someone will likely die today or tomorrow or the next day because of a generator in Florida. Again, it's not me being macabre. It is simply me following history as a guide, and there is a very good chance that someone is going to die from the generator use in the days following the passing of the hurricane. If not in Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and elsewhere. But it is so very important to make sure you're properly using that generator. Anybody have anything else to add? Laurel, Paul, Greg, did I cover everything, all the concerns that we have? The traffic today, Paul, looking quite a bit better?
Oh, yeah. It's almost non-existent right now. And as a matter of fact, I've got cameras all over downtown right now looking, and there's no delays at all.
There was no...
Seems to be, well, I think a lot of people are off. A lot of businesses are closed. Schools are
Ours
closed.
was.
So, I mean, it takes a lot of traffic off the roadways.
And since there was no school today, I called up my kids and I said, hey, does anybody want to go practice driving? And so I took Brooks out driving today. And he kept saying, man, there's nobody on the roads right now. And I'm like, yeah, enjoy it while you can. But he got his first opportunity to drive in the rain. So we had to figure out, he had to figure out how to turn on the windshield wipers. And we went through that. Oh, and I got a text message from my car today telling me that my left front tire is low. Can you believe that?
That's a shock.
Can you believe
that? That's a real shock.
Oh, my gosh. I must be the most cursed person on the planet when it comes to tires. I have more flat tires than anybody I know, and I don't know that it's flat. I did on a couple of times get out to look at my tire to see if I could see a nail or anything in it, and I didn't see a nail. I'm hoping that the change in barometric pressure because of Idalia somehow affected my tires. I am curious if anybody listening right now did anybody have their tire lights come on today?
I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. You may be alone in this venture.
Please don't let it be just me. Please let me know that your tires also need inflation. So I've got to stop, and I didn't. I was going to drive to Goodyear to have them take a look at the tire, and I thought, I don't want to do that. And at the time, it was raining. And I was running a little bit behind coming to work because I took my son out driving. So I thought I just need to get to work, and I'll just
Anybody
go
listening in, this is not a rerun. We are live.
Yes,
this is actually happening. It's happening again.
It's happened again. I cannot believe that once again I'm looking at having a flat tire, and that just is driving me bonkers. That I seem to be a magnet to nails and screws in the road. This is the hell that is my life. So I do have that. Coming up in a moment here, we're going to have, of course, all the stories that you missed while you're at work today. We've got quite a bit of storm activity. Hang on. That's not right. No, hang on. So I just got a text. Let's see. I think it was... Yeah, so I got a text from one of our colleagues, actually, who thinks that it's the outside air. That's the air is a little bit cooler. You know, when the air gets really, really cold all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden our tires all say that they have low tire pressure. That's what I think it is. I think that it just suddenly got cooler because of the rain and the storms. I'm hoping that that's the case. I don't know. We'll see. If I walk out at 7 o'clock and find that I'm sitting on a rim, we'll know full well what the problem was. And one of y'all will have to give me a ride home. Coming up, you're going to be able to hear the rap song from Donald Trump, sort of. It is a rap song. It is Donald Trump's voice. And you will definitely hear it if you stick around. So that's coming up. Plus, all the stories that you missed while you're at work today, if you went to work today. We'll have that for you coming up next here on WDBO.
Go anywhere in a reliable Toyota SUV, complete with the tech you need for any adventure. Like a RAV4, with available panoramic view monitoring, giving you more visibility than ever before. Or check out a Highlander, available in hybrids to combine efficiency and all the space you need. Or a Venza, available with a 12.3-inch touchscreen and premium sound system. Choose your Toyota SUV today. Visit buyatoyota.com for more, and let's go places.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk.
Very busy news day today across the nation, across the world, and certainly across the state. Here are the stories that you missed while you were at work today. For those of you who did go to work today, the Israeli news 9 hours ago reported this, and you may have seen this report. Scientists have discovered material on Earth that originated from outside the solar system in the first discovery of its kind. Some are saying that it is alien-made material, not just organic material from outside the solar system, but potentially alien-made material. It is small, round, and looks blue. And that's about it. 8 hours ago, it was reported, and pretty much everywhere. Hurricane Idalia made landfall as a Cat 3 storm near Keaton Beach, Florida, with a storm surge of somewhere between 8 and 15 feet. New York Times had the story 8 hours ago that CNN has named Mark Thompson as the chairman of the network of CNN. That, according to, he is the former leader of the New York Times and the BBC. So he's now going to be the new head of CNN. 4 hours ago, the New York Times reported that former New York City mayor and presidential candidate and Donald Trump friend Rudy Giuliani is liable for defaming two Georgia election workers by repeatedly saying that they had mishandled the ballots in 2020. 4 hours ago, Newsmax reported that two people were killed in Florida in two separate car crashes as Hurricane Idalia caused mass flooding and damage Again, it's open to debate as to whether or not those deaths are hurricane-related, but usually, historically speaking, car crashes during hurricanes are typically counted as hurricane-related deaths. 4 hours ago, Bloomberg. This is going to be one of the more interesting stories of this year. U.S. health officials, including the Biden administration, are recommending easing restrictions on marijuana, a move that sets the stage for potentially expanding the cannabis market. So they're looking at reclassifying the schedule on marijuana as to how it's defined. 2 hours ago, MSNBC had the report that Senator Mitch McConnell freezes up again while taking questions from reporters in Kentucky, halting for more than 30 seconds after he was asked if he's going to run for re-election. We'll have that audio for you coming up in just a moment. 42 minutes ago, the Wall Street Journal reported, and this is a weird one, the Justice Department and the Securities and Exchange Commission are investigating Tesla over a secret project to build a glass house for Elon Musk. What a weird sentence that is. The Justice Department and SEC are investigating Tesla over a secret project to build a glass house for Elon Musk. I don't know why the Justice Department and SEC would care about a house being built for Elon Musk, unless, of course, Tesla money was spent on building a house for Elon Musk. That could be problematic. You don't want to mingle your business money with your personal money. I think they teach that in the first day of MBA school. Don't mingle money. All right, those are the stories that you missed today. And as I mentioned, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell freezing up today once again, second time he's done this, during a press gaggle, as they call it. Take a listen.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
So he's asked about running for re-election in 2026. And he just stands there staring.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
That's one of his aides. He's still staring off into the distance.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator.
She comes to his side. Another man comes to his other side. A man comes to his other side. He's still staring off in the distance.
Okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
Yeah, I like how she says, please speak up, as if he didn't hear the question. He heard the question. He just doesn't have the capacity to answer it. You can't tell me that there's not something wrong with Mitch McConnell and all of our elder statesmen like Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi and so many others. It is an old folks' home in the United States Senate and in Washington, D.C. So it's time to get these old, incapacitated people out of our Congress.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Talk and discussion on the latest breaking national news.
Crude oil prices continue to fall.
Local news.
You're not going to have Disney have its own government in Central Florida.
And stories that matter to you. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let your voice be heard on the Joe Kelley Show.
This might be a surprise to some people, but I absolutely love rap music. It's one of my favorite genres of music. I actually like a lot of different genres of music. The only type of music that I don't actively listen to, that I don't regularly listen to, with all due respect to one of our sister stations, I don't listen to country music. But I love rap music. I love classic rock. I like 80s music. I like 90s music. I really like today's pop music. I love bubblegum pop music. I love all music. I will listen to, I love jazz standards. I love jazz standards. I love Dave Brubeck. There's so much music that I love. But the only type of music I don't listen to, as I said, is country, and then I don't like Laurel's music. Your choice of music, Laurel, is just terrible.
Every time you get in my truck, you complain about my heavy rock and roll metal.
So sometimes I have to beg Laurel for a ride home because I have a flat tire, and this happens so often, way too often. Oh, by the way, we do have an open mic about the flat tire issue because my tire low light came on again today.
Hey, you're not alone. My light came on for my tires too.
Yeah, so I think it's a change in tire. I think the tire pressure is changing with the barometric pressure because of the hurricane, but I can't be absolutely certain about that. But my left front tire is indicating that it's low. So all right, here's a couple things I want to bring up about rap music. One, Vivek Ramaswamy has received a cease and desist letter from Eminem, the rapper, because Eminem is displeased that Vivek Ramaswamy evidently plays a little bit of Eminem music ahead of his campaign events, and he raps. Vivek Ramaswamy raps at these events, and I thought, well, I'd like to hear this. So I looked it up. I pulled up a video of Vivek Ramaswamy rapping at one of his campaign events, and I thought that Vivek Ramaswamy was rapping like freestyle, rapping his own songs, or at the very least, rapping Eminem songs without the music playing in the background. I was dead wrong. I am so unimpressed with Vivek Ramaswamy. He is simply playing Eminem music, and he is just rapping over the lyrics, something that, frankly, any of us can do, and all of us do. When we're alone in our cars. Say it. Say it.
Doo-doo.
He said doo-doo. So this is exactly what we all do when we're in our cars anyway. But here, take a listen. Here is Vivek Ramaswamy rapping along with Eminem.
Loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. Oh, he won't back, but he knows his own bad that he's broke. His own bad that he's broke. He don't matter, but he's broke. He's so sad that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home. That's when it's back to the lab again. Yo, this old rhapsody. Better go capture this moment.
Is there anybody who's impressed with that? Does anybody think, oh my gosh, I have to vote for Vivek Ramaswamy because he raps along with Eminem? Anyone?
I'm pretty sure we can all rap to that song.
That's what I'm saying.
If he had done like Rap God, I would have been a little more impressed. But everybody knows the words of that one.
Exactly. I am so unimpressed. And for Eminem to seek a cease and desist, I'm sure speaks to Eminem's politics A. That's it. Just A. I don't have a B on that one. Now, let me move on. Now we have a rap song by Donald Trump. And I listened to this twice, and I had the new guy, Greg, our producer. I said, Greg, take a listen to this. Make sure that there's nothing explicit in this song because I can't understand all the lyrics in it. But we are both reasonably sure that there's nothing explicit in this song. But this is an AI-generated song using Donald Trump's voice. The name of the song is First Day Out, and it's singing about avoiding jail sentences. So this is, and Donald Trump has, it wasn't his campaign that made this, but his campaign has retweeted this. But take a listen. This is Donald Trump. It's about a minute and a half or 90 seconds long. I think this is pretty good.
I want to go to LA.
Well, shout out Patriot J, Benny Johnson, Big Bongino, Alex Jones, free my dogs and lock up the radical left's gone crazy. I don't bail, I won't see inside a cell. Shout out Thugger, free my slime, slat, YSL. They tryna lock me up, but I'm plugged in ATL. Got homies doing life in jail, they living in hell. These DAs acting silly, my mugshot is worth a billy. So some merchant made a milli, shot McMillie out in Philly. Shot the baby, shot the Sosa, Benny Butcher, them my rollers. Call me racist, but these rappers riding with me, them my soldiers. Mega, I am not who they are after. I'm just in the way they want to get to you, but I won't let them. Cold-hearted, no, I'm artist, getting back to where I started. I don't need to do the race, I'ma beat them RICO charges. And if I go to prison, you can't do me like the Clintons. I'll be laid up, eating steak with Secret Service, chilling, screaming, Orange Man bad, the whole world mad. Thug life, shout out all of my MAGA base chads. Coming for the deep state, I will stop the New World Order. But before that, I'll finish walls at the border. YSL, slash, shout out Thugger. Finny got nothing on us.
I love that song, man. I'm going to be playing that in my car on the way home. And by the way, that song is number 2 on iTunes, only behind number 1, the Rich Men North of Richmond. So the 2 top songs are a very country-sounding song about politics and a very rappy song about politics. Those are the top 2 songs selling on iTunes right now, and that song is AI-generated with an AI-generated lyrics and AI-generated voice from Donald Trump. That's not bad, though, right? I mean, for AI generation, would you guys agree? That's a decent song.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I'd listen to that.
And this is exactly why the Hollywood writers are on strike right now, is because they realize now, oh man, we're in deep, deep, deep trouble because AI can do their job. I would say at a fraction of a price, but for zero the price. AI could write movies, could write books, could write television series, and they certainly can write songs. Did you have something to add there, Paul?
I really don't. I mean, the guy, I think this is one way for him to expand his MAGA base. Could that be a nice way to put it?
Well, so
to ingratiate himself.
So the release of his mugshot has made Donald Trump more popular in the African American communities. Not sure I understand why. Maybe it gives him street cred because he's got a mugshot. But if the Democrats thought, and if the I cannot think of the county in Georgia now that is charging him. Is it Fulton County?
Yes, Fulton.
If Fulton County Democrats thought that mugshotting Donald Trump was going to be the nail in the coffin for Donald Trump, they could not have been more wrong. Since the release of that mugshot, his campaign has raised more than $9.5 million. It has improved his standing in the polls, and it has improved his standing with African American voters. All of that is weird. All of that goes in the face of conventional wisdom. But nothing about Donald Trump's popularity has ever been conventional.
Well, but do you know how brilliant? I'm sorry, Greg. I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Paul.
Do you know how brilliant it is for his team to say, okay, fine, let's take ownership of that mugshot. Let's not have anybody else put this out there. Let's take ownership of it. Let's just say, here it is. We own it. And make $10 million from it.
They could not wait to print shirts and mugs and everything else with that mugshot on it. The irony is the Trump campaign literally says never surrender. Those are the words they chose with the mugshot. And the irony is the mugshot exists because he surrendered to authorities. So that, again, itself, that flies in the face of conventional wisdom, but there is no such thing as conventional wisdom when it comes to Donald Trump. Greg.
Right now we just need an album drop with the parental advisory sticker on the front next to the mugshot, and this as the title single. Like it's laying out too perfectly for that.
Well, and that is the reason why I asked you to listen to the song, because the the video for it has a parental advisory sticker on it. And so I thought, oh, my gosh, if it has a parental advisory sticker on it, the Tipper Gore sticker, if you will, the Tipper sticker, then I was really concerned that there was going to be some sort of cursing or obscenities on it, but there just doesn't appear to be. Otherwise, we're just not hearing it. Maybe it is, and we're just not hearing it. I don't know.
But Sesame Street could put out a new album with the parental sticker on it, and because the parental sticker is on it, it would sell another 500,000 copies. So
So what do you guys make of the Donald Trump rap tune? You can let us know, 844-580-WDBO. Use the open mic and the WDBO app. Governor DeSantis was holding a news conference late last night, and it is worth noting that in the middle of his news conference, the power went out. So as he's talking about power outages and the effects of the hurricane, you'll hear as he remarks that the power goes out in the Emergency Operations Center up in Tallahassee.
Stay safe. Don't put your life at risk by doing anything dumb at this point. This thing's powerful. If you're inside, just hunker down until it gets past you. You don't want to be messing around with these winds. There's going to be things flying all over the place. Obviously, if you're in a place that's close to the coast and you see that surge, that's going to be legitimate surge. It's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. And there we go with our power here. We're back. So
their power went out for about 2 seconds, and it was really just the lights, because behind him in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center, the lights never went out. The power never went out. But I would imagine at that point they had the backup generator on just to make sure that they didn't lose power. The Emergency Operations Center, much like WDBO, has a backup generator, but our backup generator doesn't kick in unless we lose power. My guess would be that at the EOC up in Tally, they turn on the generator and they run it off the generator to make sure that they don't have any interruptions during their operations, and that makes perfect sense to do that. My name is Joe Kelley. You can join us at 844-580-WDBO or hit us up in the open mic and the WDBO app. Coming up, you're not even going to believe. I'm telling you, in a million years, you will never believe this story out of Australia of a home intruder and what he found on the other side of the door, and the terrible consequences for everybody involved. We've got the details for you coming up.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now, the three big things you need to know.
3. Stocks are higher to end the day on Wall Street. This marks a 4-session winning streak for all 3 major averages. And it's also an annual gross domestic product growth that was revised lower to 2.1 from a previous forecast of 2.4. 2. For the second time in just over a month, Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell appears to have had another freeze moment. The latest episode happened today in Covington, Kentucky, where an aide had to help him step in before he was eventually led away. Biden says he plans to reach out to the Senate Minority Leader. 1. Georgia now feeling the impact of what is now Tropical Storm Idalia. The National Hurricane Center says it'll continue to move across southeastern Georgia through this evening. Idalia made landfall this morning as a Cat 3, the strongest hurricane to hit Florida's Big Bend area in 125 years.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. In-depth segments on topics that matter to Orange, Seminole, Osceola, and all of Central Florida. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
I love your show every night. You're doing great, bud.
Well, shout out Patriot J, Betty Johnson, Big Bongino, Alex Jones. Free my dogs and lock up the radical left's gone crazy. I don't bail, I won't see inside a cell. Shout out Thugger, free my slime, slat, YSL. They tryna lock me up, but I'm plugged in ATL. Got homies doing life in jail, they living in hell. These DAs acting silly, my mugshot is worth $1 billion. So some merchant made $1 million, shot McMillie out in Philly. Shot the baby, shot the Sosa, Benny Butcher. Them my rollers, call me racist, but these rappers riding with me, them my soldiers. MAGA, I am not who they are after. I'm just in the way they want to get to you, but but I won't let them cold-hearted. No, I'm artist, getting back to where I started. I don't need to do the race, I'ma beat them RICO charges. And if I go to prison, you can't do me like the Clintons. I'll be laid up, eating steak with Secret Service, chilling, screaming, Orange Man bad, the whole world mad. Thug life, shout out all of my MAGA base chads. Coming for the deep state, I will stop the New World Order. But before that, I'll finish walls at the border. YSL // shout out Thugger. Trini got nothing on us.
Song has been viewed nearly 3 million times on X, and it is shot to the top of the hip-hop charts since it's released. It actually came out the day after Donald Trump had his mugshot taken. It was AI-generated voice of Donald Trump there.
I'm kind of laughing, and I'm kind of, amazed also. Just heard the Trump rap song. You've got to tell us how to find it, where to get it, where to download it, or whatever. Please. Thanks.
Yeah, download it on iTunes. It is the second most downloaded song right now on iTunes. So you can download it there. The artist High Rez the Rapper is the person who put that together. I've never heard of High Rez the Rapper, but I haven't heard of a lot of the lower tiered rappers these days. They're all a lot of rappers out there. All right, so coming up next here, we're going to have for you one of the most remarkable stories I have ever heard of a masked intruder breaking into a home, and what awaited him on the other side of the door is what nightmare fuel is made of. We'll have the details for you coming up in the next hour. Stay right there on The Joe Kelley Show.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. News, weather, traffic, all the things you want on your drive home. Plus, Joe Kelley being, well, Joe Kelley. Now, The Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's news and talk, WDBO.
All right, this is going to be the craziest story that I have read in a long, long time, and I think you're going to agree with me. So let me set the stage for it. Melbourne, Australia. This is Melbourne, Australia, and it actually happened in 2021. It's news today because someone is going to jail over what happened in Melbourne, Australia in 2021. So, again, I want to set the stage for you. A 32-year-old man, his name is Clay Holland, is hanging out at a house, at a friend's house. So he's hanging out at a house, at a friend's house. He's just, doing what any of us would do, just kind of chilling out at this guy's house, okay? And there is suddenly somebody bursting through the front door of the house. A man breaks into the home armed with a knife and wearing a mask. Now, how would you react? Paul Cross, how would you react? You're at home minding your own damn business, and suddenly someone bursts through the door with a knife, wearing a mask, and demanding, the article says, I like the article. The article says,
a Vegemite sandwich?
He said he asked for money and drugs. I'm sorry, but if he's breaking in with a knife and a mask, he's not asking for money and drugs. He is demanding money and drugs. So he asks for money and drugs. How do you react to something like that?
Well, the next call is to the coroner to pick this guy up off my floor.
Yeah. Well, it didn't exactly go that way with this Australian man. So the man who broke into the home, his name is Shane Cox. Shane Cox was high on methamphetamine. I don't know if methamphetamine is the same as methamphetamine, but it sounds the same, right? So he was high on something, some sort of drug. And Cox was overpowered by the dude, Clay Holland. So Clay Holland overpowers the man who is a guest at the home. Cox, the intruder, was then beaten with a baseball bat and incapacitated on the floor, where Holland then raped him. What? What?
Okay, that wasn't on my list of things that I saw coming.
Right? How would that be on the list of anything? I mean, what? What? Now, under the category of terrible, terrible journalism, And this comes from One News out of New Zealand. Do you think that One News out of New Zealand spells it N-E-W-Z? I would, because it's New Zealand. Anyhow, I don't want to get off topic. So they never explicitly say in the story that the man died, that the man who broke in died. They never say that. And in fact, I'm not 100% convinced he died, but the way
at that point, I'd want to be dead.
Yes, right. But I'm getting the sense that he died because they said his body was found at the scene under a pile of blankets a day later by police, who arrived at the property on an unrelated matter. What? What is going on at this house that the cops are just showing up on an unrelated matter the day later? The dude, Cox, was hogtied, his mouth was duct taped, and his pants were pulled down to his upper thighs.
This is all while the house owner is gone? Is that what he is? He was a house guest, this guy?
He was a house guest.
Okay.
So a jury convicted Holland of one charge of rape, but he was not found guilty of manslaughter. Okay, so not found guilty of manslaughter. That's the first real clue to me that the guy died. But again, journalistically speaking, they never say, it's not in the headline, it's not in any part of the body of the story that says that the dude died, the home intruder died. The justice described Holland's offending as premeditated and particularly humiliating. Well, first of all, how in the hell is it premeditated when this guy would not have known that the house was about to be broken into? I mean, I don't get that it's premeditated. And particularly humiliating for whom? I would say it's humiliating for both of them.
Can I say something?
Oh, please
do. No, if I were a lawyer, the only thing that would make it premeditated is if the man put on a condom to rape the other guy, because that gives him a thought of what he's about to do.
And maybe he did. It's not, again, bad journalism. It's not in the story. But the judge said, quote, "Your rape of Mr. Cox was a callous, degrading, and humiliating act of retribution." You know what? Don't break into the damn house then. Yes, it was, he crossed a line, but should he really be going to jail for this? Don't break into a house if you have any concerns about what's going to happen on the other side of that door. And I go back to what our governor, DeSantis, had to say today about looting. And that is, well, don't loot. But here's the governor talking about looting.
Told all of our personnel at the state level, you protect people's property, and we are not going to tolerate any looting in the aftermath of a natural disaster. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you would try to do something like that on the heels of an almost Category 4 hurricane hitting this community. I'd also just remind potential looters that you never know what you're walking into. People have a right to defend their property. This part of Florida, you got a lot of advocates and some proponents of the Second Amendment. And I've seen signs in different people's yards in the past after these disasters, and I would say it's probably here. You loot, we shoot. You never know what's behind that door. If you go break into somebody's house and you're trying to loot, these are people that are going to be able to defend themselves and their families. So I would not do it. We are going to hold you accountable from a law enforcement perspective at a minimum, and it could even be worse than that, depending on what's behind that door. So let's all band together and lift people up and not try to take advantage of a difficult situation.
So I don't want to say that the guy who broke into the house had it coming to him, but it kind of had it coming to him. Don't break into the house if you don't... It's just so terrible. Don't break into a house if you're not willing to face the consequences. Does it not sound like setting the stage for a horror movie? Doesn't it? I mean, that the guy breaks in and next thing you know, he's tortured and raped. And honestly, who thinks to rape someone? Who thinks as a means of retribution, oh, you broke into my house, you demanded drugs and money from me, I'm going to hog tie you and rape you? What? I mean, that guy has got to be mentally impaired. I mean, there's got to be something.
That's sinister. It really
is sinister. It is sinister. But you know what else is sinister? Breaking into someone's house with a mask and a knife and threatening someone's life. That's sinister. So I cannot imagine what would go through someone's mind to make them think that I'm going to rape someone as a means of punishment. Killing him, I can get killing him, because at that point it's the castle doctrine. That you're able to defend your castle, you can defend your home, the stand your ground law. Now, of course, it's Australia. I don't know what they have there with regards to they recently had a big gun buyback in Australia after they had a shooting in Port Arthur. Not Port Arthur, Texas, but Port Arthur, Australia. They had a big mass shooting there, and then the government got into gun confiscation, and they did this big gun buyback program. So they really don't have guns in Australia like they used to, which is why the guy was likely, robbing the place with a knife, which is why in England, most of the assaults are done with knives. Most of the attacks are done with knives. In Japan, most of the attacks are done with knives, because they don't have guns. They're not allowed to have guns in most of those countries under most circumstances. So they don't have a whole lot of guns in Australia, which you would think they'd have tons of guns in Australia, just being, the outback and all. And kangaroos, I mean, you need guns for kangaroos, I would think, just kangaroo eradication. They're like wild hogs, right?
Like giant rats.
Yes, they are. Exactly like giant rats. But the whole story is so bizarre. By the way, I made myself a note. I wrote down YSL. In that Trump song when he raps YSL, you guys know what YSL stands for, right? Laurel, you know what YSL stands for. Paul, come on, you know what YSL stands for.
I really don't. You so lovely.
Greg, you know what YSL stands for. How am I the only one who knows what YSL stands for?
Because you're the rap guy.
That's true. I've got it in my blood. That's Yves Saint Laurent, the designer. YSL.
Barely even heard of that designer.
Oh, all right. Well, it's no accounting for taste, I suppose.
But Laurel just snorted. She gets credit for that.
Yeah, Laurel, you snorter.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Every time someone snorts, it's definitely not Joe Kelley. It's definitely someone else. All right, you can let us know. Do you think the guy ought to be going to jail? That's just so bizarre. If rape is his thing, then maybe he'll like jail. I don't know. We'll see about that.
Well, just because you're doing that to somebody, yes, that's felony. That's a crime. So a crime does not beget another crime unless it's on the defense, and he was not defending himself.
Yeah, I would agree with you. At that point, if he wanted to kill the guy, I think that's defending him. But raping the guy, that crosses a line. But
he didn't even call the authorities on him. He had him there at the dang house until the authorities came for a different reason.
Yeah,
goodness.
Now I want to know what the other reason was.
So do I.
Why else did the cop show up at the guy's house? I know.
Good thing the cop wasn't wielding a knife and asking for drug money.
I'm sure we should not be laughing at the story. It's a terrible
but it's
story.
So stupid.
But it's just the most bizarre story I think I have ever heard. All right, 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic and the WDBO app. We'll continue. Kyle Rittenhouse, you know who that guy is. He is now being sued by the estate of a convicted child molester that he blew away in self-defense. It's kind of a similar story of killing someone in the name of self-defense. Or was it? We'll have that story for you coming up next. Stay with us.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Connected to our community. Talk local issues and events with Joe Kelley. Use the open mic in the WDBO app and let Joe know what interests you. The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
All right, a couple of follow-up stories here for you. Laurel, I know you remember this story. Do you remember the story about the guy who was going to steal the bike out of a garage, and it was an e-bike. And then this dog, what kind of dog was it?
It was a golden retriever.
Golden retrievers are the best. Oh, my gosh. There is not a golden retriever on the planet that I don't want to pet. I want to pet every golden retriever that has ever existed. And this guy is going to steal a bike out of a garage. The garage door was open. There was a video camera, security camera in the garage. And as the guy goes to steal this e-bike, and the e-bike was worth $1,300, which honestly, there are regular bicycles that are worth $1,300. That's pretty affordable, I think, for an e-bike. But anyhow, this guy was going to go steal this bike, and then this golden retriever comes running up at him, and he suddenly goes to put the bike back, and then he realizes that the golden retriever just wants to say hi. Worst possible security dog ever. I mean, this was the worst guard dog. That dog should be fired and standing in an unemployment line, because the video then shows for like what? I don't know, was it 3, 4, 5 minutes of this guy just petting the dog? And in fact, you can hear him talking to the dog, and he's saying like, oh, I love you. I love you. And he's saying this to this golden retriever, and it just puts the biggest smile on your face. And then the guy ends up stealing the bike. He ends up stealing the bike anyway. Well, there's a follow-up now. San Diego police have now caught the guy. They have not named him. They've identified him as a 42-year-old man. And the San Diego Police Department announced the suspect's arrest on Instagram. They posted a picture of the stolen bike and Ace, the homeowner's now famous golden retriever. Oh, the dog's name is Ace. Oh, it's a great name for a golden retriever.
They put this guy in charge of the canine unit now?
The San Diego Police Department says, we are thrilled to report that the bicycle is back home, much to the delight of Ace, a very good boy. I love that statement from the San Diego Police Department. This success underscores the power of community collaboration. Thank you for helping to keep our city safe. That follow-up story there for you. Now, another follow-up story. Do you guys remember the story of the American chess prodigy that was said to be cheating in chess using vibrating anal beads? Do you remember that story?
You are very bottom-centric in this last
not
part
me.
of the show.
It's not me. It is not me, okay? I'm just here to report the news.
Yes, I remember that story.
Okay, so this guy is an American teenage chess prodigy, and he has been plagued by unsubstantiated rumors of cheating with vibrating anal beads after he defeated the world champion Magnus Carlsen. Of course, the world champion's name in chess was named Magnus. He has now reached a settlement in his defamation lawsuit. While he admitted to cheating in online chess games during his early teenage years, now 20-year-old Hans Niemann denied any wrongdoing in the over-the-board games. He filed a $100 million defamation lawsuit against the online platform chess.com. Ooh, I play chess on chess.com. They've got a good app, too, for playing chess. I play my kids on that app. Chess.com launched an investigation into the allegations, rumors that he used the wireless beads that vibrated to indicate what his next move should be were never substantiated. You know that they used a metal detecting wand on the guy when he entered the chess games? I mean, they wanded the guy before he started playing chess.
I don't know if you know the other story about the Chicago White Sox baseball game and the shooting there. Did you see that? Speaking of wanding somebody for metal, there was a woman who smuggled a gun into the baseball stadium underneath her belly fat.
Yeah, under the folds of fat.
Her belly fat.
Yeah.
That's how she got it in there, past all the security and everything.
And did she shoot someone?
It accidentally went off. Another person got shot, and she got grazed. And they're fine. They were released, but This was in the outfield bleachers.
See, and here I am spending money on holsters when if I just gained a little bit of weight, well,
there you go, Joe.
I'd have to gain a lot of weight to have folds of skin under which I could hide my guns. But yeah, so that's good to know. Just gain some weight. I could save some money on holsters because I have a lot of holsters. I'm Joe Kelley. You can join us at 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
This is WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, Orlando's news and talk. Insightful.
You tell the truth from your point of view.
Entertaining.
Man, that guy is a lot taller than he sounds on the radio.
And engaging.
When we hear you on the radio, it's a good thing.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO.
You know, I am not one of the people that idolizes Kyle Rittenhouse. I think Kyle Rittenhouse, and if you don't know who Kyle Rittenhouse is, he is the guy that shot 3 attackers who mobbed him during a leftist riot in Kenosha, Wisconsin back in 2020. 2 of the 3 died. He was cleared of all charges in 2021. So he was found criminally he was found not guilty in criminal charges there. So even though he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers, he is still has not been completely exonerated when it comes to civil penalties. I remember I have taken 5 different concealed handgun license classes. I have a concealed handgun license here in Florida, and I've had them in 4 other states. And in one of the classes I took, the instructor was a lawyer. And in the 4 other classes I've ever taken, the instructors weren't lawyers. They were just, gun experts. But I tell you, I learned more from that lawyer about guns than any of the gun experts that I trained under. And the lawyer made it abundantly clear that if you get found not guilty by a jury during a criminal trial, that is not where your problems end. That may be where your problems begin. And that lawyer made it abundantly clear that pulling a gun out of your holster has got to be the absolute last resort. You never want. And honestly, after taking the class from him, I mean, he put the fear in me, man. I was like, God, I really thought I'd be a little bit more liberal in pulling out a gun, and now I would be much more conservative in pulling out a gun in any scenario. And so Kyle Rittenhouse thought he got off scot-free because he was able to avoid criminal charges. But he is not off scot-free because he is facing civil penalties. Civil penalties means that his victims and their families and their estates can sue him, much like O.J. Simpson, found not guilty in criminal court, found liable in civil court, having to pay millions of dollars of fines. I don't know if he's ever paid a dime on them. I have no idea. The same happened with Zimmerman. You know, he was found not guilty of killing Trayvon Martin, but he was sued in civil court. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse is facing a civil lawsuit by one of the people that he shot and killed, a guy named Joseph Rosenbaum. Now, Joseph Rosenbaum is not a good guy, was not a good guy. He was a bad guy. But Kyle Rittenhouse knew nothing about him at the time that he killed him. And I here's a reason why I don't look up to Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't idolize Kyle. I don't idolize any human. I don't look up to him. I'm not fond of him. I don't idolize him. I don't hold him up in esteem. Kyle Rittenhouse went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, looking for trouble, and he found it. I'm not impressed by that. He got himself in a bad situation, and he was being attacked. And I would agree that his shooting of the people who were attacking him was in self-defense. But he shouldn't have been there in the first place. He had no business being in Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 25th, 2020. He was just as bad as every other ne'er-do-well who went to Kenosha to cause problems. So now he's being sued. He's a defendant, along with the local sheriff's department, the city of Kenosha, the city of West Allis, and various other counties, demanding compensatory and punitive damages for the wrongful death of Joseph Rosenbaum. Now, Joseph Rosenbaum spent most of his adult life in prison after preying on 5 preteen boys. He was a child molester. Just hours before catching 4 bullets from Kyle Rittenhouse's rifle, the homeless and bipolar 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum had been released from a hospital following a suicide attempt. I mean, this was a troubled guy. Fresh out of the hospital, Rosenbaum joined in the destructive, fiery riots that kicked off in response to the non-fatal police shooting of Jacob Blake, whom state prosecutors indicated had been wanted on a felony warrant and was armed with a knife. Rittenhouse's lawyers claim that during his murder trial, that Rosenbaum attempted to engage the youth, at which point Rittenhouse attempted to flee. Rosenbaum gave chase, threw a sack of belongings at him, and then, according to witness testimony, attempted to disarm the then 17-year-old Rittenhouse by force. Footage of the incident shows that the 17-year-old appeared cornered in a car lot when he opened fire. In addition to claiming that Rosenbaum was a peaceful protester who was not a danger to himself or others, the Rosenbaum estate cast Rittenhouse in the lawsuit as a menace who fired his assault rifle indiscriminately multiple times. While Rosenbaum can be seen on film chasing down the teenage Rittenhouse, the suit alleges that there was no justification for Rittenhouse to point his weapon at Joseph Rosenbaum. On X, Rittenhouse has written, "I'm being sued again for defending my life." Rittenhouse is now 20, lives in Texas. He says, "These lawsuits are making it harder and harder for me to move on with my life." Well, dude, I'm sorry, but that's what you get for going to Kenosha, Wisconsin to find trouble. You went there looking for trouble. You brought a gun looking for trouble. This is not the same as stand your ground at your home when somebody breaks into your house. You went to riots looking for trouble. I don't get why members of the right hold this guy up as some sort of hero. He's not. Rittenhouse says it's extremely difficult to go outside without fear of being harassed or assaulted because of the lies in these lawsuits. He says no one should have to continue to defend the fact that they acted in self-defense. Self-defense in a situation that you deliberately put yourself in. You deliberately put yourself in that situation. You went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, looking for trouble, and you found it. Now you're dealing with the consequences of your own actions. I don't feel sorry for Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't feel sorry for the people he shot and killed, but I don't feel sorry for Kyle Rittenhouse. I think they were all scum, quite frankly. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can use the open mic in the WDBO app. You can share your thoughts if you agree, disagree. If you disagree, we'll put you to the front of the line. If you agree, we'll certainly hear from you as well. 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. Or use the open mic in the WDBO app. Let me shift gears here to a homeowner in Florida. Her name is Denise Witcher. Witcher? W-U-E-T-C-H-E-R. Witcher? Anyhow, her name is Denise. She's a homeowner in Florida. She's engaged in a legal dispute with her homeowners association. Homeowners associations. This is where I have to confess that at one point for about 2 years of my life, I was the president of a homeowners association where I lived. I was the reluctant president. You know that line in movies, that scene in movies where the general is like, I'm looking for a volunteer. Anybody who wants to volunteer, take one step forward. And then everybody else takes one step backwards. And then it leaves you standing out front. That is exactly how I got elected president of my homeowners association. Nobody would do it. Nobody would do it. And I said, oh, damn it. Damn it. Fine, I'll do it. I'll be the president of the HOA. Biggest regret of my life. Well, I've got regrets. I have a few. How does that song go, Paul Cross? I think it's a Frank Sinatra, right?
Yeah, of course. Did it my way.
I did it my way. It was a terrible way. I should never have done it my way.
Why do they have a homeowners association if absolutely no one wants to run it? No one wants to be the president. Why would you have one?
I don't know. I think we were required. I think there was a charter that required our community to have an association. Nobody wanted to be a part of it, and I stepped up and said, fine, I'll be the HOA president. And I'm not even kidding. Years later, I've still been involved in a lawsuit, even though I'm no longer I don't even live in that state anymore. I don't live in that house anymore. I don't live in that state anymore. But a crazy woman, I could get into that story. That's another story for another day. But man, that never, if ever given the opportunity to be involved in your homeowners association, run as fast as you can and stand behind Kyle Rittenhouse. let him take the shots for it. So get this. This woman here in Florida, she has a clothesline in her backyard. Clotheslines, this is good for the environment, right? You're not using a dryer. You're not using electricity. She has a clothesline. The HOA has nothing in its covenants, its rules about clotheslines. But the HOA insisted that it was a violation because it was visible from the street. They said that she needed to move it closer to her house so it wouldn't be visible. Well, if she moved it closer to her house, it would be blocked of sunlight because it would be in the shadow of her house and it would cause her clothes to be dirty. So she is now being fined every day that she doesn't move it. They're fining her $100 a day, eventually reaching the maximum of $2,500. Do you think that this woman should be able to keep her clothesline out? If it's not specifically addressed in the HOA covenants, I would say yes, absolutely so. And if it's not, they ought to change the covenants and allow clotheslines. 844-580-WDBO or use the open mic in the WDBO app.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Now the three big things you need to know.
Three. CBS is set to air a special tribute show to the late Bob Barker. Drew Carey will host The Price is Right, a tribute to Bob Barker on Thursday. It's the daytime Emmy winning host, I should say, died last Saturday at the age of 99.
Two.
The National Zoo reopened today after having to be evacuated on Tuesday following a reported bomb threat there. Police say the zoo was cleared as a precautionary measure yesterday morning and area roads were shut down. Nothing of hazardous nature was found.
One.
American airline flight attendants are authorizing a strike. The Association of Professional Flight Attendants has voted overwhelmingly in favor of a work stoppage and plans to demonstrate at 12 airports. The union says members have been asking the airline for better pay and improvements to staff onboarding for years.
The Joe Kelley Show on WDBO. Breaking news to lively debates, covering the issues that matter to you.
I make it a point to listen to Joe Kelley when I need to fully understand what's happening in the news.
Now, the Joe Kelley Show on Orlando's News and Talk, WDBO.
Talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, the Kyle Rittenhouse is now being sued by the estate of a convicted child molester that Rittenhouse shot in self-defense in Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020.
They attacked him with skateboards. They attacked him. They pushed him down.
Yep.
If you get attacked, you pull out your gun and you shoot. All that kid had to do was hit him with one of the trucks on the skateboard and could have hit him in the head and killed Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was in full right and full command to pull his weapon and shoot.
Right, and as I said, at the moment he shot them, it was self-defense. I agree with that. But Rittenhouse should not have been there.
Yeah, he's not a hero. He didn't go looking for trouble. He went because that's his job.
What?
My God, Joe. Sometimes I love you, and sometimes you're so full of shit.
Yeah. First of all, it was not Rittenhouse's job to cross state lines and to go to Kenosha, Wisconsin with his rifle to shoot rioters. That was not his job. He had no business being there. I'm Joe Kelley. Third hour is Sean Hannity's show. Coming up next.